To William Herndon, his law partner and friend, Lincoln was simply a theist, an unbeliever in Christianity, an infidel in the orthodox sense of the term. Herndon was appalled by popular attempts to apotheosize Lincoln. He was by no means a disinterested party, but he was in a position to know. That Lincoln rejected formal religion is at once easy to understand and difficult to reconcile with the myth surrounding him. Raised in a strict Calvinist household, he learned from an early age to associate his father's crude belief in predestination with narrow ambition and a sharply limited worldview. It seemed to Lincoln that his father's complete lack of drive, a quiet resignation that flowed naturally from his theological rejection of personal agency, consigned Thomas Lincoln for all time to the hard-scrabble existence of a semi-literate dirt farmer. It was a life from which the son was determined to break free. From an early age, Abe displayed what his White House secretaries called a fixed and inflexible will to succeed. And the more that he learned to hate manual labor, cutting down trees with his famed axe, breaking the prairie dirt with a hand-drawn plow, enduring a never-ending cycle of planting and harvesting, the more he came to resent Thomas and everything that Thomas represented, which included Calvinism. But discarding religion as a part of social and familial flight does not necessarily mean that he should have rejected all religion. Coming of age in an era of intense evangelical revivalism, Lincoln could have, in theory, should have, followed millions of his fellow strivers into the Baptist, Methodist, Congregational, or Presbyterian churches, where a new Arminian and non-Calvinist spirit taught that humans did have agency, did control their own destinies, and could secure their own salvation through good works, faith, and a personal relationship with Jesus Christ. It was an ethos well suited to a noisy democracy and bustling market economy, in which Americans understood themselves to be masters of their own fate, equally free to choose what church to worship in, what profession to ply, what goods to purchase, or which candidate to vote for, as how or even whether to secure their own eternal salvation. Lincoln's Whig Party, whose political base was inseparable from mainline churches and reform movements, was popularly known as the Christian Party. Its closely intertwined relationship with Protestant social reform movements, with their emphasis on the moral uplift of both individuals and the nation, reflected an ascendant premillennial strain in American thought, which anticipated the country's role in ushering in 1,000 years of peace before Christ's return. But Lincoln, unlike most of his political brethren, kept organized Christianity at arm's length for most of his life. He never joined a church, and even when president, only sometimes attended Sunday services with his wife. Before the war, he had been, in his own way, a vaguely religious man, Mary acknowledged, but his spirituality was abstract and informal, marked by skepticism of rigid dogma rather than categorical belief. Certainly he did not consider himself an evangelical Christian in even the loosest reading of the term. That changed during the war. As was true for millions of his fellow citizens, Lincoln underwent a spiritual renewal. Typical of a man who was, by his own admission, rather inclined to silence, and not easily pulled along by the tug of popular convention, Lincoln followed his own religious path. His transformation was quiet, subtle, understated, and iconoclastic. It nevertheless left a profound mark on his presidency and on the Union's understanding of the Civil War. Gallons of ink have been spilled in contemplation of Lincoln's ideological evolution, political talents, mastery of power, inner life, and military genius. But to understand Lincoln's performance as president, his eerie self-possession in the face of political turmoil and military setbacks, his sang-froid